Yo, 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 what's up? How we doing? Welcome to the Dynasty Bebop. I am the Fantasy Footboy, and this is the Mushroom Dynasty. We're here to talk about some real life football, man. I'm super excited. We're sounding better. We're looking better. I think just Browns win over the weekend has just got everything feeling good on a Victory Monday. So how you
Yeah,
doing, man?
pretty good. Yeah, you guys might notice we've got some fancy new audio equipment. Still waiting on a little Amazon package for my holder thing, so bear with me while I hold my mic. It's like it was a race between what was going to happen first, the show or the shipment, but here we are. We got a lot of talk about. I'm excited to get into it because it feels like we've had months and months of nothing happening, and now we've had just more significant things happen than I can even catch up on, and and the ball is rolling.
Yeah, yeah, man. It was great to sit around yesterday. Obviously we're both Cleveland guys, so getting that Cleveland win in Week 1 in a sloppy game was awesome to see that come to fruition. It's been what since the early 2000s, I think, since we've had like a Week 1 win. Uh,
2004.
2004. So, yeah, it's definitely been a minute. There's probably even a lot of Browns fans watching that game that weren't even alive the last time that the Browns got a win on Week 1. So, pulling out versus Joe Burrow, offense looked okay. I'm gonna chalk that up to sloppy game in general, but I would say positive. The Jim Schwartz led defense was looking nasty, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
really got no complaints. This is what we've wanted them to be like the last few years, what we thought they were gonna be, and they're just kind of maturing into it.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
And if the Browns are gonna win, they gotta win in dirty games because it just gets worse here in Northeast Ohio as the year goes around. So, being able to win this in a nice or early in the season in a sloppy environment, I think only shows that later on in the season, when the snow and the winds coming off Lake Erie, they're still gonna be a potent defense. Be able to use that Chubb game a lot.
yeah. I saw a lot of people giving Joe Burrow a pass because of the weather, and I don't think they realized this was some of the nicest weather that we're gonna have in Cleveland for the rest of the football season. There could be less precipitation, but yeah, it was 70s and drizzling. It wasn't that bad. Sure, it was wet and you know, but it wasn't, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a monsoon. It was, weather that these guys would be praying for in February. So I'm not
Yeah,
giving anybody a pass because of that. I'm just attributing it to Joe Burrow is 1-6 against the Browns, and we just something about the Browns. We got his number, and until that is proven wrong, I'm gonna say that's what happened.
yep. A win's a win, no matter what.
Yeah,
Oh man, so you talk about like wins or wins, man. So this week in fantasy was kind of an interesting group of top performers. I would say outside of what really Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, CMC. Those are probably, I would say, just about the only top 5 scorers at their positions that going into obviously Monday night here that we could project as top 5 position scorers. Just kind of like rattle them off here real quick. Quarterback, we do have Tua is the number 1 quarterback going into Monday night. Mac Jones, we got Jordan Love, our boy Anthony Richardson, and our home quarterback Deshaun Watson rounding out the top 5. It's funny having Deshaun Watson at that 5 spot. I feel like he's just born to be the number 5 quarterback, and any year that he's healthy, any game he's playing, it just seems like QB5 is what he's made to live in.
yeah,
Excuse me. Running backs here, we got Aaron Jones, we got Austin Eckler, we got CMC, then we got Tyler Algier, your boy, and Tony Pollard. I would say he's also another one. I'd say we could have easily projected in the top five, although I did see him often going lower in the RB11 kind of range a lot of times in season long drafts. Wide receiver, we got the man, the myth, the cheetah, the lion, Tyreek Hill. My boy, Brandon Ayuk, finally showing out, balling out. We got Jacoby Myers, we got Kendrick Bourne, and we got Calvin Ridley rounding out the top five. Tight ends, Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst, TJ Hawkinson, Donald Parham, and Evan Ingram. What a list of tight ends.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, out of that list, anything like really shocking you on here? Like anything that's making you
Well,
think?
Hunter Henry, tight end number one, is a slap in the face to me right now because in our home dynasty league, I had him rostered from the beginning, and about a week or two ago, I was like, you know what, it's time to move on. Looking at a warp chart, if you're not one of the top few guys, then it's all basically the same, and I've just been churning guys that have been, as soon as I pick them up, they get cut from their team. So that was a smack in the face and a little bit of regret there. But hey, he's still on the wire. So if I want to go spend some fab on a guy who's probably not going to reliably pop like that again, I could do it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Mac Jones and that offense. A guy who was really efficient in his rookie year. We had high hopes going into year two that he'd take that step. Obviously, he had a terrible situation last year with what Matt Patricia trying to call plays or whatever. So, I think this year, with a new OC, we could see a nice step forward for Mac Jones. He is an efficient quarterback. He threw the ball over 40 times on Sunday, so he's definitely willing to air it out a little bit more than maybe some previous New England offenses. So I think Mac Jones is a guy that I think you could probably still buy on the cheap.
Hmm.
And I think you'd be happy with Mac Jones as your QB2, maybe QB3 even on any contending roster. So, contending roster QB3 for sure. And best ball, God loves getting some cheap Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, QB4 on the week, Anthony Richardson. I goes out there, rushes 10 times for 40 yards. Puts up the ball quite a lot as well. Hyper targeting his man Michael Pittman. I think the Colts fans have to be excited about what they see in Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I know we both have a few receipts of some Anthony Richardson investment, and I felt like talk on Anthony Richardson was cooling. People were getting cold feet right before the season, and retracting some takes that they had, strong takes about him being worth the 101, and I think he was worth it. We got to look at he's the guy that's potentially the most valuable in this draft, I believe, and that's a good start. Like that's paving the pathway to him like reaching that goal, and so we're gonna be keeping a close eye on him. Hey, if I can buy him anywhere, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna pay through the roof, but I guess nobody's gonna be selling him cheap right now. So it's gonna be pretty hard to get it.
Yeah, how many first do you think would be too many to give up for Anthony Richardson right now?
Oh, okay. So I would have trouble doing anything. Maybe like two firsts and a second, depending on where those fall. Like I could see myself doing, but I don't see myself sending three firsts yet. We could get there. I just
What about
feel
20? What about 24, a 25, and a 26 first?
all my own and I don't have
Yep.
any other picks in this league,
Yep.
if I guess if you're gonna do it, if you've got a contending roster, you got to do it because if you're telling me they're all going to be 110 to 112, you're not going to get a guy with his ceiling for three firsts. But you can't guarantee that in any league. So like I'm always looking. I'll call one first a mid and one a mid to late. Like when I'm doing my calculations. So it's hard. Like if you're really confident that you've got three late firsts, yeah, send it right now. See if you can get it done.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be tough. With three late firsts. I think even if one of those firsts is sitting kind of mid, I think I it, we roster construct pretty similarly with young wide receivers. So, if I've got the young stud wide receivers and I'm just looking for that stud quarterback, I don't mind pulling that trigger on three firsts right now, especially through the next 3 years. Worst case scenario, he's going to retain two first value at the end of the season. I can trade him for a 25 and a 26 pretty easy and pretty much retain that value on a 1 year lease for a 24 first if I want to get out.
Yeah.
But at this point, I do think that the ceiling is unlimited for this kid. He's the mobility he showed in the pocket, which is really one of his special traits in college, was just the ability to avoid the sack. He's not evidently one to take off running, which is a really good instinct to have. Is to look up
Hang in the
first,
pocket.
scan the field. He can evade those first, onslaught of rushers that they're sending at him. Escape a little bit and make that play. That's what you see Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and even Jalen Hurts, who's he likes to use AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. When the play breaks down, those two receivers know how to create on their own. So, I think having that ability it's not going to grow, I think, a lot with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman in that offense. Hopefully, they can get their running back situation taken care of. I don't think that this is an offense that super needs Jonathan Taylor, but I do think that no team could hurt having Jonathan Taylor on their offense. So
Yeah.
I just want to see that kid find a home. You got any?
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
you're a big JT guy, and I've only ever had some JT. Actually, I got frustrated, JT jaded, in his first year because I was like, "What the heck, man? This guy's supposed to be the truth." It's like week 6, and he's not doing anything. He kept getting the opportunity, and I sold him to Marty, and he's been a FTG for me ever since.
yeah. No, we're big FTG guys. If we've talked about this in our Discord fairly often. We use this FTG moniker. Something
To
that
keep it
really
PG.
yeah, to keep it PG. Really, uh this has been a Raymond philosophy. I feel like for years. So yeah, Ray, why don't you explain to me a little bit about what FTG means?
FTG is bleep that guy, and it just means that I'm fading him, I'm betting against him. The strategy has 100% effectiveness given a great enough scale of time. So it has that going for it, but it can sting a little bit in the meantime when like we're gonna get into some like Puka Nakuas and stuff where I really faded those guys, and it stings to watch them go off and everybody talk about it, and you got none rostered or whatever. But it's all just about like just planting the flag and just betting against a player because honestly, the odds are stacked against every player. And if you can just kind of identify situations that you're not really willing to invest in and just look for the ones that you are, and it's just kind of a way to stick more to that and be like, ah, FTG, like I don't want to deal with this guy. Like somebody else can either like hit the jackpot or whatever. I'm just like not gonna gamble at that position, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Say for me, like FTGs are guys that, yeah, I if even if they go off on someone else's roster, I don't give an F. You know, like that's
Right.
just kind of how it is. Like they don't really impact me in any way unless I'm playing them by happenstance in a championship game and they cost me money, and then super FTG at that point. Like that guy just got like a new tier of FTG that most guys will never achieve in their careers. So
It does come
um,
full circle occasionally, and
yeah,
we'll fade a guy, he'll be an FTG guy, and then everybody catches on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, FTG," and then I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! He's not that low. He's not that bad," and then he can start being our guy again. But
yeah, you
kind
can
of
go
helps to stay
from
ahead of the cycle.
Yeah, well, an FTG, you can go from a bleep that guy to a friend that guy, and,
Yeah,
and, and then at that point, like, FTGs are still FTGs, but like, he can hang out in my friend group for a little bit and maybe I'll give him a second chance.
yeah,
But if he starts maybe accruing value and someone else wants to friend that guy even more,
mm-hmm. He gone.
FTG, he gone. So yeah, I'm I'm excited, still for some of these FTGs, but when they're gone, they're gone, and you gotta move on with your with your week. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of these rookie wide receivers. I think that's as a dynasty player, that's got to be something that we focus in on. And
Yeah.
finding there's such a dichotomy in these guys. They're either boom players and they're worth multiple first round picks, or they're busts and they're really struggling. So I think that out of the four rookie wide receivers that we had in week one, any that you feel like have changed your mind in any way, have clarified things for you, has made you feel more confident one way or the other, or are you still kind of in the same boat you were
I'd say
before?
Zay Flowers. I've been high on Zay Flowers. I've been grabbing him anywhere I could, and he was falling in drafts, and people were really fading those late firsts, and I was like, identifying is it a major opportunity. He's almost. I don't know. Yeah, I see him like going maybe just below that Olave Garrett Wilson tier, like probably by the end of the year. I think we're gonna be seeing him up there if the usage continues the way it is now, because we knew it was going to be good. We didn't know it was going to be that good, because that,
Hmm.
that was a ridiculous target share, and like he looked awesome. Like he looked like he belonged in that category.
Yeah, I
And that,
mean, they always talk about how targets are earned. And 9 targets for 78 yards. He's short on the tutty for the week, but still a solid performance from the rookie. I know there was no Mark Andrews in that offense that week, but they did have a healthy Rashad Bateman. They also had Odell Beckham, and I think both of those combined for 6 targets on the week. So,
yeah.
huge win for Zay Flowers owners, Zay Flowers truthers. Yeah, you were super high on him before he was getting pushed right up into the first round of mock drafts. So, congratulations on the Zay Flowers. While you're holding your flowers. I'm happy to see Jordan Addison doing what I was hoping he would do, which is pretty much play the Adam Thielen role. At this point, he was still honestly not on the field as much as KJ Osborne was. But I do think it's promising. The 4 for 61 touchdown this week. I think he's gonna. That's good for Addison's value, and it's good for that offense. JJ was still able to get his targets and get his yardage, but Addison is able to get his too. T.J. Hawkinson was able to eat. And it's just what we were expecting from this offense that got rid of Dalvin Cook, and we're probably just looking to air it out with a bad defense. And I think Minnesota pass catchers are all players that I want right now. And even in best ball, KJ Osborne's going to have his weeks as well. So I'm all on board for Minnesota moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, we did see Tyler Lockett go out this week, but we did. Jackson Smith and Jigba did have a pretty quiet game. 3 receptions for 13 yards. And the other top wide receiver in this class, 2 receptions, 9 yards for Quentin Johnston, with also a banged up Mike Williams in that game as well. I thought maybe if there was any chance that we might see QJ start to flash a little bit is when we saw Mike Williams go down, and man, still a whole lot of nothing. A few little tunnel screens they tried with him, and I think if you're a Quentin Johnson owner and there's guys out there still willing to give you a first round pick, I think I'm ready to move on from QJ and in all formats. What about
Yeah.
you?
There was a lot of talk that I heard about Quentin Johnson possibly being the best wide receiver in this class. And if anybody still believes that, you go get that first. Because I don't think that he's going to be worth a first by the end of the year. I mean, maybe just on name and draft capital alone, he retains it, but I don't think it's going to be reliable. He could be falling into that kind of like, all right, we're willing to trade him for an early second, maybe like territory if he keeps having, golden opportunities like this. Well, I mean, he didn't get the targets, so we can't call it really a golden opportunity, but he didn't demand the targets.
Right.
With like some of the wide receiving talent gone. So, he was a fade this guy for me in the draft because I'm just like, I looked at it as somebody else wasting a first round pick. And that's just kind of confirming what I thought. Kind of, I'm sure he's going to have good games here and there, but prepare for a lot of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I especially in year one, it doesn't seem like he's really moved his way up the depth chart. I saw a lot of Josh Palmer in that wide receiver 3, and even when the injury happened, they were still targeting a lot of Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer in that offense. So, uh, fade that guy, or buy at your own risk. I think I would consider buying low if I could get for a second or 2 seconds. I might consider it just because the name value and knowing that I might be able to move him once he starts to show a little bit of something. But yeah, and overall, he's definitely not a guy I'm looking for. Only if someone else is super panicking.
Yeah, if somebody's super panicking and I have Herbert on my team and I can just like cop a cheap stack, all
Yeah,
right. But like I don't, you got to have a reason to go trade for him right now. And so yeah, just find that guy, spam it. Like it used to be a problem for me. I would be afraid to like spam trade offers, but like that's how it feels like a lot. It can feel annoying, but then everybody in the league knows that you want to trade, and like, you do that a few times, maybe you don't get anything out of it, but like maybe somebody sends you a trade offer because they want to trade, and they just know that like, okay, the rest of the market's kind of dead, but this guy keeps sending out offers, so maybe I can trade with him. Like, so do it. Like, get out there, literally send 11 offers out of QJ for a first and see what you get. I would take a 25 first for Quentin Johnson right now.
Yeah, yeah, and you say, and just almost like going back on that, like that whole theory, just sending out those offers. Another thing is like you might get a counter offer, and
Right.
there's like I find myself doing this a lot of the times too. Is I'm in 20 plus leagues, and I get a trade offer, and I'm like, that's dumb, and I like sometimes I'll forget to respond back to it. Or I was telling them that that's just something I'm not interested in, or I'll just decline it or whatever. And like I don't know, just build a different trade. Like the guy is looking to make a move, so like if they're looking to make a move, then you know take a shot at it. Of course, my boss here is showing up, so I sure had to go guard the house.
Yeah.
But um those trade offers are always, you're gonna learn something, and like so many times deals are able to get done because you know go back and forth. You'll find out pretty quickly. The other person's just willing to not do anything besides that one deal, and that's fine, move on. But I think using that counter offer, and seeing what you can get and what kind of deals you can add in, because usually there's a every team, we've got enough kind of sleeper type guys on our radar that those are always good throw-ins at some point in the season. I remember last year a lot of times Jacoby Myers was a good throw-in piece, and here he is in the top five scorers for this week. So you know
Right.
there's always shots to take. Some of them work, some of them don't. But when they're literally throwing pieces, you have like no investment and no loss if something does happen. Um, cool. Another thing I kind of want to talk about is the other potential 101, which was Bijan Robinson.
Hmm.
He was I would say 98.7% of rookie drafts, super flex drafts. He was the 101 for most people. He showed a little bit during the preseason. Had a couple moves to get you excited. We go out week one. He does lead the team as far as running backs and running back snap share. He was 65% of the snaps, but he did only have 40% of the running back rush share. His running back mate Taylor Algier, on the other hand, had 54% of the snap share while carrying 60% of the rushing share. The target share is really where Bijan shined, 35.3% of the targets, while Tyler Algier was 17.6% of the targets. I mean, really, in general, you're looking at a huge percentage of the passes from Desmond Ritter going to the running backs. So I think that's a positive for both Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. Um, but what do you think about this split? Do you feel like this is something that's going to continue on through the season, or do you think this is something that maybe Bijan might start to slowly ramp up and start to get into the 60 to 70% of the snap share and rushing share?
Well, I've been buying as much Tyler Algier as I could in the off season because of this. This is about the split that I expected. Sure, Bijan's the shiny new toy, and sure, he does absolutely amazing things on the field, but they do not want to break their toy. So they're going to be going easy on him. Especially like, yeah, like they're going to win some games this year, but are they really going to be competitive? Do they really have a shot at the Super Bowl? And like, if the answer is no, then it's not worth getting an ACL tear for Bijan. And then next year when the team has better gelled and like has some identity, we don't have our star. So it's going to be frustrating. We're still going to see a lot of electric Bijan Robinson every weekend, but I really like the fact that he's got Tyler Algier there to take a bunch of the load, and they're committed to the run. They can support two fantasy relevant running backs. They did it all last year with Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier, and now these two are more talented because I'd say Algier is improving as he becomes more of a vet, and there's nobody else like Bijan right now.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I think that this is just another glimpse into the new NFL. I was looking at some of the running back touch leaders for week one. You had Christian McCaffrey sitting at the top with 27 touches. And then below that, you had Miles Sanders at 24. You had Travis Etienne with 23. In the 22 is Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Cam Akers. 21, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. 20, Jamal Williams. And 19, Rashad White, James Conner, and Javante Williams. Um, you know, and I think obviously Christian McCaffrey's usage has always kind of been kind of on the insane level. The dude just wants to be on the field all the time, and he is an absolute weapon in both the run game and the pass game. But you're looking at 24 touches. We're not talking about rushing attempts here either. This is touches in the game, both combined receptions and rush attempts. Man, I remember 5 6 years ago, it was commonplace for running backs to be getting 25 touches a game, and you're just not even seeing that from like even the elite producers. So I think that just something you have to accept a little bit, and looking for these high efficiency running backs like a Bijan Robinson that's can do downfield catches. Jameer Gibbs, the same thing. I'm totally investing in Jameer Gibbs still as a producer, not only this year but moving forward. And then outside of that, I'm gonna just pray and spray in my best ball leagues a lot more often on some of these RB2s that are in these committee backfields. They're very cheap to obtain. Being able to get Brian Robinson, Jamal Williams, James Conner, Rashad White, all as high volume touch leaders in week one. As far as scoring goes, being able to get like a Tyler Algier, super late. That's awesome. So I think there's just like so much more opportunity to be able to shoot a few different shots out in that direction. I know you've always been more, especially in best ball formats, into kind of stacking up a few studs and kind of leaving it at that. Like, are you still feeling pretty confident in that strategy, or are you thinking more
So
about?
I think that, adding running back twos is great when we're adding guys like Tyler Algier and stuff. We got to watch how far down that rabbit hole we go, though, because, we look at the Jerome Ford snap share and it looks good, but, there's a difference in the production, and there's going to be a difference in the production between him and Tyler Algier. So, specifically in best ball formats, I'm still looking for the best running backs that I can. And I'm going to try to roster between 5 and 7 of those. And I only will have maybe 1 to 2 of these RB2 guys that I feel a little bit better about. And, you know, getting into that, like AJ Dillon, Brian Robinson, like that level of RB2, I really like those guys. If you can get them at a good value in a startup or in a trade, we're not going to go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money on them, though. And I'm really not concerned about those guys if I don't have them. It's just it's all a value thing. I'm not going to load up on a bunch of running backs that are going to be so far down the depth chart that they're only going to see the field maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I just think those are bad best ball assets. And, while the running back twos in the league are coming up and being more usable, they're not all there. So I will roster some RB twos, but I'm just going to use a lot of caution, and I'm going to be very selective about the ones that I do it with.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I just, especially in startups, it's really hard to want to make the investment in these running backs where they're going in startup drafts.
Yeah.
So, I just find myself a lot of the times, after I've got my, three, four, or sometimes five wide receivers and a couple quarterbacks, you know, I'm in sitting in round seven, round eight. The best running back that's been available to me in most drafts this year has been James Cook. I've gotten a ton of James Cook at value, which is looking pretty solid. Hopefully, we'll find out tonight if the usage and hype is real, and or if it's just going to be a good Buffalo Bills player that doesn't contribute on my fantasy roster. But we'll, we'll see. But I just feel like it. You say I'm never going to spend a second or third round pick on a Christian McCaffrey. You know, uh,
Yeah.
Bijan at the end of the first. A lot of these, and of course, they get injured, they get replaced. We try to invest in them now when they're younger, try to get those 2 to 3 year windows. But then you've got like a Zach Charbonnet that comes into your offense and spoils your Kenneth Walker plans last year. You got Dalvin Cook showing out to ruin Brees Hall's plans this year. So all those teams last year that were like, all right, well, year two, year three for these running backs are going to be, really taken forward. Well, those aren't even there anymore. And, I just don't know how I feel about investing much into the Saquon, uh, you know, CMC, Austin Eckler's, the stud RBs of the past. They're still putting up points. Um, you know,
Yeah.
late
It
first when
is
you
it is kind of weird, like that strategy that I've had of going a little bit heavier on some of those like Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, CMC guys in those best ball drafts. It seems like we kind of hit a cliff of these star running backs coming into the league, and we're not going to be able to continue on with that strategy because there's only a few, like, Bijan. Like, I'd still put Brees as one of the guys that we feel better about. Like, there's not a lot of guys that aren't 28, 29 who are like, yeah, those are definitely the guy for a long time.
hmm
And so that strategy of the stud RB will eventually fade out as the RB market continues to change, and there's twice as many relevant RBs, and what a relevant RB is changes away from those studs that are you're looking for 30 touches a game or something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you're just finding a lot more value in the this year, like the Roshan Johnson. I think we're gonna start seeing a few big games from Tajay Spears, who actually ended up out snapping Derrick Henry this week. So, that's I don't think Derrick Henry's ever had that happen to him since like his first couple years when he was getting underutilized behind what Dion Lewis and your boy DeMarco Murray. uh, so it's defenses change, and they change these schemes up pretty often, and I think that now they're 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 bringing in the run. They want you to run the ball on them. They know that analytically, like, that's not the best move, but if you are freeing up these running lanes earlier on, coaches are going to change, especially a coach like Arthur Smith. I think this Atlanta running back combo is definitely one that you're happy with both pieces. Probably happier without Gier right now just because you paid way less money for him.
Yeah.
But I think you have Bijan, you're super excited to have him. I'm not in a rush to flip him right now. If I have him on pretty much any roster, if I'm on a unless I'm on a full rebuild, which is why did you take Bijan to begin with? So
Hmm.
that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Some okay. It sounded like it just cleared up, but something was going on weird with your mic for a second.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, now
hopefully
yeah,
we're
you sound fine. Yeah, you're
yeah.
good now. All right.
Hopefully we're good. Cool. So we kind of wanted to wrap this up here a little bit. We talked the past couple weeks about some of our startup strategies, and we went through some of my rosters that I had mainly built through last year using a very similar strategy. This year was a little harder. I felt like for me to execute, and I was trying to hold true a little bit more often and just kind of see how other people were handling the boards. But Raymond had a draft with a bunch of guys from his home region.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about this a little bit here? I'll bring up your team here.
Cool. You're bringing it up on Dynasty, Daddy.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. So I started out this draft. I just took the formula that we laid out in our starting up and trading back video, and I just started sending out offers. And so I targeted those guys that were towards the back end of the draft because I was trying to get an earlier second round pick. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up my team here real quick so I can see the trade. But yeah, the first trade that I was able to get done here. Um, Actually, got a league. Anyways, I think I traded my first, which was the 104, and I got the 204, the five, his fifth round pick, and a 24 first. And so then I turned around and took that 204 and traded that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the trades here. I
Actually,
suck
I
at.
got him here for you. I'm gonna bring him up here for you.
Oh, yeah, I put them in the Discord, didn't I?
Hmm.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm like failing at using the web browser version of Sleeper. I'm much more used to the mobile browser.
Yeah, the first trade that you did was you traded your 104 and
Mhm.
the 1309.
Okay.
You got the 204, the 504, and a 24 first.
Right. Yeah, great. And then yeah, I wound up so that one I had sent out a bunch of offers that was like somebody's second round pick and their fifth round pick and their future first, the 24 first for my first round pick. Yeah, so several people like declined it, but one guy was like, I think we can do something here. He countered with he wanted me to throw in an eighth. I said the eighth was too rich for me. I'm like, how about a 13th? And he took it. And so that was good, and I felt good about it because I think when we originally did the video, we talked about a second and a sixth with a 24 first would be acceptable. So I felt okay throwing in that 13th because I'm getting a fifth instead of a sixth.
Hmm.
And then, so yeah, then I went ahead and after I had spammed out all those offers, I waited until we were on the clock at that 204 pick and was like, "Hey, who wants to make me an offer for this?" And that's where I got kind of a ridiculous trade offer that I accepted here. You mind refreshing us on what that is here?
I don't have the second trade that you did. I only had the
Okay.
first one.
Okay.
Are you on desktop though?
Yeah.
If you go to league, and then it'll be like league activity. You can click on league activity,
Yeah. It's
and then it'll be like trades. You can pull up all the trades for your team.
um yeah. No, it's not just my inability to use the web browser. It's up on this other screen and it's not really scrolling properly. So, but yeah, basically, I wound up getting another trade back where I picked up more picks and more firsts, and I wound up with four firsts. And so, not only did I pick up some falling value, I picked up Bryce Young sliding down the board. I picked up Kyler Murray in the fifth round, and yeah, I basically was able to accrue about as much value as everybody else, with the trade backs. And now I have way more draft capital than everybody else, too, just because I took some talent that was falling down the board. Also, I kind of was thinking about it when you move back and you're selecting in the, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds and you give yourselves more shots there. Like, you've got more guys that can ascend and like move up the board. Where the more shots you take in that first round, like those guys can really only go down the board. So I had a lot of fun with this, and I think that this team is gonna really grow a lot. We got James Cook, Rashad White, Roshan Johnson, a few other like just a guy running backs that could potentially get a second if the situation improves. We got Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Marvin Mims, Nico Collins. I got Trey Palmer stashed on the taxi squad. And so we've got some exciting young receivers. The idea is, I've got a lot of picks here. I'm going to try to flip as many guys as possible. But yeah, just kind of wanted to show that this theory isn't completely crazy. Like, here it is in action. Like, I got the number one ranked team in this league now because I implemented it. And it's just crazy to me that how close it was to what we actually discussed in the video. The outcome.
Yeah, you say even like taking the draft capital away, you can still see, your individual player values are still higher than the entire league, just because you let some of that value come to you in the draft. You didn't get overzealous early on and had to feel like you had to get your guy. Like you said, those guys at the top, they're already value capped. Obviously, Mahomes is fine being value capped the way he is, but you know, I'm for the most part, most of his players, like you said, are more likely to go down than up. So, being able to invest, in your James Cooks late, Rashad White, I'm sure got late as well. Taking those shots on, your Smith and your Higgins, Say Flowers, George Pickens, Marvin Mims, nice solid young wide receiver core. Um, and just kind of being patient a little bit in this year one. It's always tough taking some shots from the chin sometimes throughout the season when you're doing a productive struggle team like this, but holding strong and letting it happen. I would say if you had been in a situation where maybe Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett like came out week one and both threw for 5 touchdowns, and then you could maybe start looking at, all right, maybe I can move Kyler Murray and some of these first and start contending. But they're two young quarterbacks, young wide receivers, a few dart throws at running back, and a solid tight end one that is going to be there for quite a few years.
Yeah.
This is what you hope for, and you can now use those 4 first round picks to literally spend on whatever you want in the draft, or move them down and keep punting value into the next season. This is going to be you're going to be in a spot where you have three. Hopefully, you have three decent quarterbacks, and every one of these first round picks, you could almost move into a second and a future first, and still get a player that like a solid RB to add to your stable, and looking for those shots while just punting off first round values until you hit on a top three pick and then you spend one. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think you've got a lot of stuff to play with here through the season, and I'm curious to see. You do have one team with the super team
Yeah,
logo
I've
here.
never seen that before. It's pretty
Let's check them
crazy.
out. Yeah,
They
we got
did
Justin
lose.
Herbert, Derek Carr, CMC, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Diggs, Cooper, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Pat Fryermuth. I mean, I've seen more super of teams before.
Yeah, and I have his first, so I don't know. That one's not like the first I'm the most stoked about having, but hey, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, some of these other ones could be earlier. We'll see. Yeah, I did find the trades here. So the second trade that I did was I traded the 204 that I got in the first trade, and I traded it for the 310, the 1110, and a 24 first. Which when I punched that in to keep trade cut, that was giving me a lot of value. And he
Mm-hmm.
had originally, you know, offered the 25 first, but I was like, yeah, if he's offering this, he's willing to negotiate. So I switched it to the 24 and he smash accepted it. So that was good. And then, yeah, the last trade that I did in the startup was I gave up the 407, or no, I'm sorry. I gave up the 209 and I got the 407 and a 24 first. So,
Nice. Just adding up those first, man. So yeah,
yeah,
you have to keep us up to date on how this league's going, and let us know. I'm curious to actually see like what some of those players actually turned out to. So maybe next week we can pull
yeah.
that league up, and we can see how some of those the players actually fell once you made those trade backs. So
Yeah, I think this last one wound up being he picked Steph Diggs at the 209, and I'm pretty sure that's where I got Kyler Murray and a 24 first for Stephon Diggs. I'm like, when you start putting those kind of names in there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd do that trade. Like,
yep, 10 out of 10.
yeah,
So awesome, man. Well, yeah, we're getting pretty close to the hour mark, so
cool.
go ahead and wrap up. So if you're still tuning in, we do appreciate you. Go down, hit the like button, put a comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. We do have a link to the Discord down below as well. We'll put a link to Dynasty Daddy. Make sure you're utilizing the tools that are given to you. We'll be back next Monday. I am the Fantasy Footboy. This is Mushroom Dynasty.
Yeah, we are the
All right.
Dynasty Bebop.
We're the Dynasty Bebop. We out.
Bebop out.